So it's book review time, and this week's book review is going to be on 2 contemporaries and a fantasy, but I have already done a written review for the fantasy, so I'll just leave the links to it down below after I mention it. But these are the 3 books that I just currently finished. So I have here Side Effects May Vary by Julie Murphy, Mystic City by Thea Lawrence, and Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I am going to talk about Mystic City first because that is the book that I have written a review for on my blog. The link is down below. I just wanted to mention it a little bit though. So essentially this revolves around a girl named Aria Rose, and she is the daughter of a very wealthy and powerful family in the new sort of like the futuristic Manhattan city. They have suffered global warming already, so half of the city lives underwater, and they are called the Depths, where all the poor people and the mystics live, and the upper half is called the Aries, and that's where she and all the other powerful and wealthy families live. So Aria wakes up one day from a coma, and she's been told that she is actually engaged to Thomas Foster, and the Fosters are actually her family's arch old nemesis, so they have both been in a power struggle, but once these two get married, then it will, you know, unite the wealthy or the rich families, and they'll come together to fight off the people who are trying to rebel against the system. Aria takes it as what it is, but she seems to feel really uneasy around Thomas. She doesn't remember falling in love with him. And then she meets Hunter, who is a rebellious mystic, so he hasn't had his powers drained yet, and slowly she begins to see a familiarity in him, and he somehow helps her gain her memories back, and she realizes that what she has been told isn't actually true. First and foremost, I picked this up only because of the cover, because who would not buy a cover like that? Seriously, this is a cover buy, and also because the premise sounded interesting. I'm the type of person to do quite a lot of research on the books that I want to buy when I want to read them, but the Goodreads reviews for this was really mixed. It didn't have the best reviews, and I still went against my instincts because of the cover. That's how attracted I was to this. Like, it's like it glitters. Okay. Unfortunately, the story is not as pretty as the bookcase or the book cover is. It actually felt really flat. The positives is the world building and the descriptiveness of Theo Lawrence's writing. I could really see the world, visualize it. It was solidly built using, you know, old foundations of the Manhattan city that we know of now, so Central Park, 5th Avenue, yada yada yada, and just adding futuristic elements to it, so I could really see that. Actors weren't all that great. I didn't really love Aria. She seemed pretty much like a damsel in distress, with a bit more backbone. Like, she was a bit more stubborn, had a lot to say, but still needed to be rescued. Hunter and Thomas are written in a really stereotypical way. So Thomas is the really arrogant heir, and he doesn't really care about anything else besides himself and money and status. So of course you have to hate him. And then you have Hunter, who is the misunderstood rebel, and he's gorgeous, and he is the, you know, the knight in shining armor. So he's written for us to like. But other than that, I didn't really think anybody was very special. The plot was really predictable as well. You could really tell what was happening. There were a couple of twists and turns at the end, which sort of covered the issues that I had with the book in the beginning. So I didn't mind that. It does set up for a really good, or hopefully a good second book, because the sequel is coming out next month, and it is called Toxic Heart. Yes, that's right. I'm still unsure as to whether I'm going to be picking that up to read it though, because I just haven't been enthralled in this series or the story of it yet. I can see why, well, I can see the themes of it: inequality, you know, rights for freedoms, all that stuff, but it just comes down to a romance novel in the end, and I just felt like it was average. It wasn't that great, so I gave it a 3 out of 5. it might appeal to other people. I think the minor characters do make up for quite a lot of the flat major characters, which is really weird. So, you know, check it out if you haven't. You might like it more than me. Moving on now though, and we're gonna go straight into the two contemporaries that I've recently read. The first one is Side Effects May Vary by Julie Murphy, and this is a new release. It came out last month, but because I haven't read any of the new releases for this month, I couldn't do like my new release reviews, which I am wanting to do for this year, but it's not gonna happen, so I'm gonna do it in this review instead. I don't know if I've said this in my wrap up. I think I have. I did not like this book at all, but I just recently went to the PTA live event, and the host Felicity says that you either love this book or you hate it, so I guess I'm on the side that hates it, even though it just annoyed me. So the premise is about a girl named Alice who is diagnosed with cancer, and then she finds out that she only has a couple of weeks left to live, so she builds this bucket list, which is basically all about revenge, seeking out people who have done wrong to her to sort of get justice for herself, and then she finds that she's going into remission, so she has to live with the consequences of doing those things, which sounds absolutely amazing. The premise sounds so good. I thought I was going to be in for a hilarious ride where there will be bitch fights, you know, backstabbing, but at the end of the day there'll be some sort of light. There wasn't any of that at all, and I think maybe the reason why I didn't like it is because it didn't live up to my expectations. The premise is supposed to be about the bucket list, but we rarely hear about what she does. There are only snippets here and there, or she alludes to what she's going to do, but you know, nothing really happens, to be honest. Basically, the story is just about herself and how she's coping with the cancer, how she's coping with people around her, and how the people around her have to deal with her being like this. And then her and her best friend Harvey, their relationship, how Harvey feels about her and how she realizes that he loves her, but she just can't commit to it. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't like Alice at all. She just came off as a really annoying character. I understand that she has cancer, that she has needs, and you know, she has to fulfill them. When she goes into remission, she gets a little cray because she can't handle the fact that she's going to live, which I totally get, like, you know, but at the same time, wouldn't that be some sort of good news to you? I got to the point where I was like, you know what, I don't care, you can die and I wouldn't care less, which sounds really mean of me, but I just got fed up with her just rubbish. She treated people like crap, and I didn't think especially Harvey, didn't deserve it, because Harvey stayed with her from start to the end, and he knew he didn't need to expect anything from her, but just for her to be there, and in the end she just couldn't do that for him either, which sounds terrible. It's like she used cancer as her excuse to sort of be that way, which probably is the wrong interpretation, because like, I have never had cancer, so I wouldn't know what a cancer person feels like, or how, you know, how they go about their way of doing things. But Alice, I just couldn't understand her intentions. I just interpret it as her having really bad commitment issues, of her just not being able to handle anything because she's spent this entire year thinking that she's going to die. And I just felt for Harvey so much. The only reason why I pushed through this entire book was because of Harvey. He was very much the really over-the-top nice guy, really sweet, but I like that he stood his ground sometimes against her, even though he obviously really liked her a lot. He's not very realistic, because I don't think any guy would ever be like that. Maybe there is people out there like that, I don't know, but I've already forgotten some of the other characters in this book, which said a lot, because this book really didn't stay with me. It's supposed to be this whole message about, you know, getting through this obstacle that's in your way, learning to love your friends, your family, people around you, coping with things that you really shouldn't have to face. But I don't know, I did feel for Alice towards the end when things just started to backfire. But I don't know, I just didn't feel any love for this at all. I could be one of the million people that read this and just didn't like it. I think in the end Alice does commit to one nice thing that she ever has done for Harvey, and it's a really nice gesture. I would love for it to make up for everything that she's put him through, but it's a start only for me. It's not a very big or extreme gesture. The ending was a total letdown as well. It was just flat. It was open-ended, very open-ended. I was a little confused. I was like, okay, but it just felt flat. Like, I guess we could all see that coming sort of thing. So I was like, whatever. I understand it's supposed to be a very meaningful sort of story. Julie Murphy writes really well, but I just couldn't get myself into it enough to sort of love it. Love the message that she was putting across, or love the characters as well. Maybe that was her intention, for us to not like Alice, but I don't know, just didn't do it for me. So to cut things short, the issues I had was Alice. She just came off as really frustrating, really hard to connect with. I had no attachments with her. The story, because the story sort of somehow didn't come up to the expectation that I had for it because of the premise. I really wanted to sort of see something else besides the developing relationship between Harvey and Alice, and the ending, because the ending just didn't wrap things up properly for me. Didn't exit with a bang. I don't know. So yeah, the only good thing that came out of this was her writing and Harvey. I hope I wasn't really mean. I probably said some things that were really harsh, but that's just how I feel about this book. I did read it like the couple of days after it came out, and I only gave it a 3 out of 5 as well. And lastly, I have Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, and this is a contemporary novel. I think this is the second one, and I have read her other novel, Eleanor and Park, and that was absolutely beautiful. So I decided to read this one as well. I just love the cover. I think it's so cute, and the color is really nice as well. It looks great on my bookshelf. I really don't know where to start with this book. There is a whole lot that goes into this, like, that goes along with the characters. It is very thick, but the writing is quite large, so it's not too bad. Basically, the story is about Kath and her twin sister Ren, very original Catherine, and they are about to attend their first year of college, and Kath is so super pumped. You know, she's ready to do this adventure with her sister. She's ready to tackle college whilst continuing on with her fan fiction about this series called Simon and, I think, what is it called? The Simon Snow series, which is very similar to the Harry Potter series in that Simon Snow is a wizard, yada yada yada. He has a best friend, and he has an arch enemy, and he has an enemy named Baz, who is a vampire. Anyways, so Kath is the author for this massive fan fiction called Carry On, but then she gets this breaking news that Ren doesn't want to be roomies with her, and that Ren actually wants to have a social life outside of the Carry On series, and the Simon Snow life sort of thing. And Kath is freaking out. She doesn't know how to handle this, so she ends up moving to this room with this girl named Reagan, and Reagan is a third year, I'm pretty sure. Lost. Anyways, and first Kath just can't deal with it. She's like, oh my god, there's people, I can't. She refuses to go to the dining room or the dining hall because she just doesn't want to meet people. Whereas Ren is out there having a lifetime. She's made new friends. She's got a new social life. So yeah, and in comes this boy named Levi, who is apparently Reagan's boyfriend, according to, well, from what Kath can see. But Levi has this charm to him, and eventually things start to move on from there. So essentially it's about Kath coming out of her shell, trying to move on from this life that she's already known, and just meeting new people. I found that this book was really frighteningly relatable. but it was really in a really extreme sort of way. I could see Kath in, I could see myself in Kath, sort of, you know, with the Harry Potter series, just being in love with every single book in there, sort of being socially awkward. I'm not that great at making friends at uni, but I tend to keep to myself sometimes. But Kath was at the really extreme end where I felt like maybe she was just suffering from some sort of social disorder. She refused. She was really stubborn to let go. She felt like everything she said was right and that Ren was abandoning her, when really Ren was just getting out there and having the college experience. And I don't blame her, because the college experience can be really important for, you know, your social life. So, like, at the end I sort of couldn't form any attachments with Kath, because she felt like she was blocking even me out of the way as a reader. She did open up a little towards the end, and that was when I sort of felt like, oh well, here we go. This is a start. But I think I felt a lot more for Ren, especially towards the end, because she kind of got the really bad end of the stick, and that's one of the issues I had with this book. And that was you know, because Ren was having this great social life, she was doing these things in college, but there was this consequence to it, and it sort of felt like, you know, if you do these things, you're just going to end up like that, or you're going to end up in a bad state, and things aren't going to work out your way, and that you have to not be like that in order to do well at school or something like that. I don't know. So I think that's what I got out of it. It wasn't a great message, because I feel like if you go to college, you can party, you can go drinking, you can meet people to a certain extent. Like, obviously you don't go nuts, but Ren just went from 0 to 10 and then back down to 0 again. Like, she wasn't given this sort of like minimum level, but that's just, I just found that a bit like annoying and really unrealistic. Certainly I didn't go out partying, all that stuff. Like, come on, I party with books, that's enough, but I still feel like people need to have a life outside of other things. And I love Reagan. I think she's one of my favourite characters in the book. Levi comes a second, I'm pretty sure. Reagan was just that one badass chick who represents the type of lifestyle that I guess a lot of college students want. She's smart, she's very social, she gets out there and parties, she meets boys, she tries to befriend Kath, and she's really sarcastic. She's the type of girl that you want to be friends with. She's not popular, but like, she's not part of the popular group, but she is popular and that people know her very well. So I could just, if I had a roommate like her, like, I would be down to party with her, just saying. Levi, on the other hand, was very cute, sort of like, he was the type that was, you know, the boy that was popular with girls, but he had a charming way, he had his own way of doing things, and I totally shipped him with Kath. There was this other boy in there named Nick, and I was worried that he was going to get in the way. But Levi and Kath forever, because they're sort of polar opposites, but they complete each other, sort of thing, and it's the cutest thing ever. I was sort of like screaming with like all this fangirlness. Fangirl, it's the word fangirl. Because of how cute they were together. That was a great part of the story, the developing relationship, how they got to know each other, how they got to become friends, and sort of get to know each other, and how Levi immersed himself in Kath's sort of interests and committed to being with her because he wanted to be, he felt like he needed to be, and I don't think Kath sort of wanted to get to know his interests as much as like he did for her, but it worked out in the end. I really liked the snippets of the Simon Snow stories that we got, both the fanfiction side and the actual story that Rainbow Rowell makes up. It really reminded me of my days when I was reading Harry Potter back then. Obviously I didn't write fanfiction, but it was a nice feeling to, you know, sort of share this love for a series that not a lot of people understand about, but can be universal as well. I had about Kath and Ren and their mum, their relationship. I don't think that was tied up very well. Also with Kath and Nick, I don't know what happened there, but it sort of blew up and then Nick just sort of disappeared. I think what I really loved most was Kath and her fiction writing sort of class. At first she was really stubborn and I got really annoyed that she kept trying to argue against the lecturer or the teacher of the subject, but in the end the story that she submitted was beautiful and I loved it. I thought it had great meaning. Kath and Ren's relationship definitely worked really well. Their sisterly bond is very strong. There was a lot of emotion involved. I was definitely, you know, very happy when things happened, or very sad when things just didn't go the right way. It was a beautiful coming of age story where you get to learn that there are the joys and the fears of, like, you know, growing up, of putting yourself out there, of change as well, because change is definitely a very frightening thing. As I said, it was really relatable, and I just couldn't help but sort of put myself in Kath's shoe, even though sometimes I didn't feel very attached to her. She did sort of annoy me sometimes with her stubbornness, but you know, everybody else is stubborn. Overall, I think Fangirl had just really great writing. Rainbow Rowell writes really well. The relationship developments were great. Character complexity was also really well done. Reagan was probably one of the best characters that I've ever read before. And I just think it was a great read, a very easy read as well. I flew through this, so I definitely recommend it. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5, I'm pretty sure. Definitely, that was very much a ramble on. I hope my reviews make sense. I try to say a lot of things, but then I forget about them, and then I go back to them, and then I jump back and forth, yada yada yada. Anyways, if you have read any of these novels, then leave a comment down below telling me what you thought about them, or recommend me any books that are similar to the ones that I've reviewed and that you think I would like. Other than that, I think I am done for today. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!